Sweet. So month 15, reflection 13. Obviously coming in hot during what is a particularly busy period for most. What's on your mind, man?
Well, firstly, I'll say that I've been on the lucky end of having some clients that have been very proactive about how they've approached Q4. I think that what happened with cash rewards in September was part of a broader kind of concerted effort on my end to get clients to buy into pre-planning
Mm.
in as much advance as possible, purely because like so many people are flooding into the channel, so many people are seeing value in the channel in this market context, and there's scarcity, in inventory and opportunity. So I am in a very fortunate position of having a lot, if not all, of my Q4 activity kind of planned and ready to go. Really happy that we were able to get a lot of value out of partners because we got in early, which then opens up some really good opportunities for um like I don't want to say, it kind of sounds bad to say reactionary planning, but because we've got all this kind of inventory planned out, we can be really flexible about when we flex up and down in terms of rates, like incentives to market, based on how the client's businesses are going against their targets. So, take for example, like we have all this inventory kind of booked out over the course of November and December in particular, given, BFCM, but then also the lead up into Christmas gifting and then Boxing Day as well. Um, but over the course of that time, we can basically change our incentives and flex in with or flex out with different campaigns depending on what the client's priorities are. So, take for example, today we had, got briefed on a last minute opportunity due to a shortfall against a particular category for a client. So we just went straight into market, collaborated with a partner on a great campaign, straight into market with incentives that are in line with that product category. And, I have no doubt that it's going to do really well. We did something similar last week where we were like, okay, everything's planned out. Let's bring something forward. Let's run this idea and opportunity came up with a partner. So a lot of what we're doing now is kind of like, yeah, it's really fun. It's just like, okay, cool, we're behind target here, let's push here. Okay, we're ahead of target here, let's bring this incentive down. And it's nice to be able to toggle as opposed to, you know, scramble and trying to find opportunities here, there, and everywhere. And I think you get an added, not that like partners are going to hold back on you ever, but I think you get an added level of commitment and like ideation from partners when you've invested in them and you've locked in investment with
Yeah.
them over the course of a period of time because they know you're leaning into the partnership. So they try to bring things to you as well.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think, yeah, the like, it's that whole like get ready, stay ready type thing, right? It's just like where we are so ready for this period now that the ball's more so in our court as opposed to having to react to the market and scramble and race around. So yeah, it's definitely a good feeling.
How much do you think brand weight plays in securing all of those preferential outcomes as well?
I think the days of just purely throwing your brand around and going, we are who
Yeah.
we are, you're gonna do what we tell you to do. I think that those days are gone. And they're, you know, like brands are eroding over time if they don't have great products and they don't invest in brand and they don't have a great retail strategy. So I think that like it's not very forward facing or like
Mm.
smart to just have that mentality still in market. But
Mm.
yes, you're 100% right. Like we always get, you know, not only do we get, preferential treatment in a way in terms of like locking those opportunities in, but also we also get like some great proactive ideas and, you know,
Yeah.
some great kind of co-funding and like opportunities like that pop up. But I'd say if you're in that position, like if you're lucky enough to be in that position as a brand, like it's so much more important to lean in to get as much out of that like clout as possible, as
Yeah.
opposed to try to use it to wring the rag as much as possible and take from partners and your potential customers alike. Because a lot of brands do that, unfortunately, and it's like, yeah, it's not a very sustainable practice. What about you, man? What are you seeing in market? What are you uh feeling about the, how things are going across client work, but also the business as a whole?
Uh, Following a similar theme to you in the context of seasonal periods, just, and I think this is probably a topic that might need to be, not need to be discussed in market, but just I'd be really interested to see how other people see it, as we all know what the key seasonal periods are, and we know that we're now in our world coming into the most important quarter, as we alluded to at the beginning of the video. And I get it's dependent on the clients that you work in and the industries they work in and stuff, but knowing the balance between you need to play at this time versus your investment is not going to get the same cut through that it would have done in terms of the busyness of the environments that you're going to be playing in. So yes, there's going to be heightened customer activity, but is that going to equate to your brand being chosen in those moments? And if it's just understanding what to suggest to different clients at different times around, do you go heavy in
Mm.
those big moments, or do you let everyone else play in those moments and you
Mm.
take a backward step, but you're very present before and after, or
Mm.
you do a bit before and a bit during, but you're not so present after, because obviously
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
spends their
yeah,
money by then. But
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, do you put all your chips on the seasonal period at the moment, or do you try and do something tactical around it? And like I said, I think it's case by client and it's case by industry, right? But
Mm.
if you're talking about brand A, like we were alluding to in your example,
Mm.
they probably need to be playing throughout because they've
Yeah.
got everything in their arsenal to make the impact that
Mm.
they're looking to make. But
Mm.
for a brand that might be emerging or maybe new to channel or have a really strong offering, but not necessarily a huge presence from a branding perspective,
Mhm,
how
mhm.
do you make that, and stringent budgets, how do you make that investment go as far as it can? Yeah, just having honest conversations about how people treat those periods, and being from our side mindful and aware of each brand that we work with's position, and not just spending their dollars because that's what everybody else does,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
being a little bit more strategic than that. So
It's a great point, man. We've always talked about like the elasticity of demand and, what is a like where a retail moment will be, where you can like there's just heaps of consumer demand in market and there's heaps of potential like acquisition opportunity. And it's like, how hard do we need to push in terms of incentives during a period of time versus like when you've got an internal retail moment as a brand, and you need to stimulate demand in a market
yeah,
that doesn't, isn't cooperating or isn't in the kind of increasingly, it's very difficult to stimulate demand in those moments that you want to at your time in your calendar because consumers are looking to wait for those bigger moments,
yeah,
and it's kind of tougher to spend. But I don't think we've actually spoken about the point that you made is that every brand is on a very different journey in terms of that curve, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And like and yeah, saliency, their product suite, their margin, like all those things really need to be taken into consideration alongside broader market dynamics as well.
what's coming up aside from your personal event that's happening? I say
Yes.
event, it sounds like you're getting married, you're going on
Yeah,
holiday,
yeah. I was
but
like, geez, man.
yeah,
Yeah, you're really stitching me up there. But
yeah,
no,
yeah,
just a mini break. It has been a weird year economically. Like, I think that, depending on how much you kind of pay attention to financial markets and like news in general, it's just odd how, inflationary pressures seem to be like at bay. Interest rates are holding firm or coming down, but you know, people are really feeling cost of living pressures. You know what I mean? And that has a real impact on retail expenditure and obviously our channel as well. So I'm just, and we felt the signs of it in different campaigns that having been in the game for so long, right? And having worked in affiliates for, combined over 15 years, like you become accustomed to obviously no day being the same, but also realizing which, calendar moments, like retail calendar moments, are going to do well, which ones aren't,
Yeah,
what type of ways you have to, again, like as we spoke about, stimulate the market during certain periods of the year where there are gaps in the retail calendar and you can focus on some internal business priorities for the brands you're working for. You just have like there's a cause and effect. Like what the relationship between your client's products and the response in market is going to be.
hmm,
And over time, we've obviously seen that, like, there's less and less clear space to work in it now because all these retailers are like just bringing new massive calendar events out into market, like after payday, you know,
yeah,
like, like, and you see the dynamics kind of changing over time where like Black Friday, Cyber Monday is now way bigger than, Boxing Day, which used to be the retail moment of the year.
very true.
But festive season gifting is still really big, and the lead up to, and then you see the delivery countdown sales, like um, Amazon Prime, Prime Day, Prime Week, etc., etc. Anyway, I just feel like this year's been a big year where everything's kind of gone like not the way that people have expected. Do you know what I mean? Like things have not responded in trend with, previous years of data.
Yeah,
And this will be if this is the crescendo, right? If this is like the major moment in the year for us, like this will be a year where we talk about, I think, in years to come, where we go, okay, this is the year where the trend bucked, or this is the year where you saw that, like, okay, cool. This is the ultimate retail period, and there's no like, you know, this is what sets the standard now. You know what I mean? So I think I'm just curious to see how all these campaigns kind of perform. And I know that a lot of people are banking on this being a really successful period because the rest of the year has been quite difficult, right? So let's see how consumers respond to all of this. Let's see, as you said, how aggressive brands go during this period of time, because I think a lot of brands are also very conscious of exactly what you were saying before, man. Like, there's only so much they can do in terms of, before it becomes like a really negative and, cannibalizing, and it will, until it kind of puts your business in a really difficult position where you're basically giving your product away and you're delivering 90% of your sales in 2 months at a time. It's 2 months of the year, sorry, and then the rest of the year is just trying to play catch up and trying to kind of correct your books, and trying to get back into profitability. So all these really interesting market dynamics, and I feel like come November, December, like we'll actually start to see what the impact of the macro market looks like, and then how brands are reacting to it. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. What about you, man?
we are inadvertently creating a consumer en masse that is just not even deal aware, deal focused, deal
Yeah,
concentrated, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
won't bend or flex unless they absolutely have to,
yeah,
on essentials and necessities beyond fixed price. Like they won't do
yeah,
it. So I'm with you. I think Cyber Weekend is going to be huge. I think it seems to be shaping up to be. It's obviously a very big cultural moment
yes,
now, and it's translated from offline where you see people fighting in supermarkets for
yeah,
TVs and stuff. So like it's like a virtual war
yeah,
for stock. But I do think, yeah, the expectation of consumers, the purchase patterns that we've seen throughout the year, and just the general behavior. And I look at us as a personification of that. Like we probably are looking at a customer set now that's behavior is here to stay, in the sense of it won't be bothered about luxury buying and anything that could be deemed as non-essential unless there's a deal with it,
Mm.
which bodes really well for the affiliate channel outside of these big moments, because we
Yeah.
can, like you said, we can stimulate that demand. But whether that's a good thing for brands, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I counter that by saying I don't think we're the only ones. I don't think we're the only like channel that is like contributing to that behavior. I definitely think it's the fact that there's just so much choice out there. And I also think that intrinsically, like people now just do not trust brands. And
Mm.
for you know, like whether you are on the side that agrees with that statement or doesn't and think that people should, I think that there's a natural level of skepticism with pricing and with the amount of products and options that are available in market that leads to this kind of behavior. But you're definitely right in terms of like brands and people in our channel spurring this on even more, this behavior on even more by always being on sale and
Yeah,
always chasing, um, chasing a net result, like a customer acquisition result, as opposed to a profitability based result, which I think that's like a key like quality of ours as an agency. The fact that we will always think about, like I regularly say to clients, if this was my money, like if I was
yeah,
in your business and I was,
yeah,
thinking about your margins and your priorities, I would do this or I wouldn't do this type of thing. So um yeah, what an interesting time we've got ahead of us, don't
yeah. Next
we?
reflection is going to be interesting.
Yeah. You got anything else you wanted to chat through for this one, or
um,
anything you're looking forward to particularly for November?
not anything like I said that would probably interest anyone outside of me and you. It's just kind of general businessy, exciting conversation type stuff, and closing out the year hopefully with a bit of a bang. Um, so no, I won't bore anyone with the details, but there is a lot that I'm excited about, but maybe not that's pertinent to the wider market, shall we say?
That's a good tease, man. That's a good tease for the months
Again,
ahead.
don't treat that as a definite anyone watching like that. Let's see how we go.